And welcome and a very happy Monday to you now, June the 22nd. It's in-game live game day as we are excited for what we've got coming up in the World Cup here today. And it's not often you get this, but 3 times in 11 days that we're going to see 3 of the greatest goal scorers in World Cup history take the field. And it's going to start in just a couple of minutes here with who else? Lionel Messi and Argentina getting ready to take on Austria. I'm Joe Raineri alongside Tom Vecchio, and it's another one of those days, Tom, where the game's greatest, they're going to be on full display all day long here today, and it begins with Mr. Hat-Trick himself, Messi taking on Austria. What are we thinking about in this game? It's not priced as bad as I thought it was going to be, but what are we thinking here?
Certainly thinking that we're going to see a lower scoring game. I believe that's what Austria wants to achieve in this. And ultimately knowing that if they can get away with a draw on this, they have a game against Algeria in their back pocket, right? So, and they looked terrible in that first game against Argentina. Now, granted, different level of competition, but Austria's not that bad. They came into this FIFA World Cup ranked 20th in the world. Argentina sitting at 1. So it's not some big disparity between them. It is a big disparity, in the grand scheme of things. But if Austria can get away with a draw, they have essentially 3 points, assuming that they can beat Algeria in their back pocket. Therefore, they can solidify second in the group and advance to the round of 32. So that's where I'm starting off. I want to get right to my favorite bet for today is Alexi McAllister for Argentina. Doesn't sound like an Argentinian name, but 1+ shot on target at +110. When we're looking at what Argentina wants to do, obviously up at the top with Messi, I believe they're going to try and create some space for other players to step up. He did have a shot on target in their first game. That's where I'm going to be looking 1+ shot on target at +110.
Can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with that. I mean, listen, we can't probably go wrong with Messi getting another one, right? I mean, who we can? Anytime goal scorer at this point. It was, I believe, just about even money. I think his assist prop, too, to get an anytime assist was also pretty good at about 2-1 +225. So, I mean, listen, it's not cheap. It's like the home run prop with Judge and Ohtani, right, Tom? I mean, you're looking at Messi anytime goal. You're not going to get rich off it. But you know what? If he scores here, certainly in the first half, we're going to be going, how did we not do this? I mean, he only scored 3 in the first one over Algeria, right? So why not? 16, I believe, career World Cup goals for Messi here. I think he can take center stage and have the World Cup record here, 17, when it's all said and done here. And it's clear the rest of his teammates, as he goes, this team will go. It should be good enough to be able to at least get them the win here, no?
It should, and we were in this situation last week with the same teams on the schedule where we started off with Argentina and Messi, he scored, France with Mbappe, and then later tonight we have Norway with Haaland scoring, potential Erling Haaland for Norway. So we were in the same situation last week. They all scored twice. They all scored their opening goals for each of their teams. So that's what we should be looking at essentially today. And really, Argentina getting off and running early is what we've seen. They had one good chance. It just went to the side of the net. I think Austria, they're going to be playing on their back heels the entire game, and it's about counterattacking opportunities. Can they get a shot or two off? I will say, when you look at their previous game against Iraq, they did win 3-1. They had 1 goal scored. They won via an own goal and 1 via penalty. So it's like power play opportunities. We're getting a little bit extra chances that really didn't indicate the actual goals that they scored because they really only put 1 in by themselves outside of a penalty and an own goal.
Well, to say that this game is huge, and yes, we're only in the group stage, but it's huge because the winner of this will kind of take control of this group, Group J, right? That's pretty important because whoever finishes second in this group is likely going to be paired against the winner of Group H in the round of 32. And guess who's sitting atop Group H with a pretty big game coming up against Uruguay? That's going to be Spain. So a potential Spain versus Argentina in the round of 32 would be kind of epic. But if I'm Argentina, I need to handle business in this game here. Just let me win this game, and whatever's going to happen over there with Spain, although that group is far from being decided just yet, but this would go a long way into punching a ticket here for Argentina and moving forward.
It really wouldn't. This is something I talked about with Kevin last week is when we're at this point of the second games leading into the third, we have to be almost projecting forward about what's going to happen. Knowing that a team, if they come away with a tie, they still have the weakest, opponent left in that group coming up as their third and final game. Those are 3 points sitting there. So knowing that the projected round of 32 matchup is very, very unfavorable playing Spain, we know what each team is trying to achieve, trying to avoid them, getting the points, not getting the points, knowing that you still have 3 points, potentially coming for Argentina when they play Jordan in the final game. So always a lot to be decided. We're seeing an injury right now for Argentina. I don't know if their other striker, Lautaro Martinez, is coming off, but he is injured right now, being attended to.
Yeah, he kind of got crushed between two defenders and the ball there. So both of them took his legs out. But, that's the other problem with this. I never know who's hurt and who's not hurt, Tom. Honestly, it's like, all right, it looks like it might be, but we don't like flopping in the NBA. These guys are professional floppers. Like, I've never seen any. The dramatics when they hit the ground is just unbelievable here. It really is. And all that likely means is we're going to get a whole lot of extra time at the end of 45 minutes here in the first half. But that would be a pretty big miss for them if he's got to come out of this game.
We are, but we're also getting a VAR review for a possible penalty. I think this was in the box, so it might be a penalty kick, and that presumably would put Messi on the spot to score. So they're still under if they're going to review this. I don't know if the refs actually go into the VAR monitor, but we're at 5-6 minutes in now. Messi could be getting his anytime goal prop before 10 minutes via penalty. So he's going to the screen now, right. and we're going to find out.
Yep. Yeah, right. It was inside the box there. So that's exactly what they're looking at right now. But that would be something else, right? We could cash that ticket right off the bat. We'd have absolutely no problem doing that. But it's also not the only game that we have on tap here today, right? So we've got some pretty interesting matchups here. And I told you, get ready. I mean, you want to talk about firepower. We've got firepower here today. France and Mbappe coming up after this, 5 o'clock Eastern time. Norway and Holland will be playing against Senegal. And then Jordan and Algeria will round it up out on the West Coast. So this is a loaded slate across the board with some of the games, superstars here. And let's see if they can't handle business in a big way here. I'm going to be interested with Norway, too, because I think Senegal is much better than what they showed in the opening match, but I think Norway's going to have their hands full.
They certainly will. I will say for France, some of the lines are just simply unbettable. Minus 1,500, can't look to Mbappe. Mbappe to score or assist is minus 475. Senegal is a very good team. They went far in the African Cup of Nations, and it looks like Messi is walking to the spot right now for a penalty kick. So we're 7.5 minutes in. Ball's on the spot. Messi's coming up. We are coming up against a break, so we're going to find out if anyone can cash there. Messi first goal, Messi goal prop, Messi to score or an assist, all within a few moments.
And I just have no idea why. I mean, granted, it looked like a pretty good defensive, two guys converging on the ball handler there, but apparently we're going to give Messi a free kick in order to be able to try to get his 17th goal in the career of the World Cup. But boy, oh boy, that's something else here. These should be automatic, by the way. These are easier than free throws. I mean, they should be. And if they're not, that's a problem. But we'll see here if Messi gets it done. So far, 0-0. About 8 minutes in the first half. We got more as in-game live game day continues here on the grid. right, welcome back in-game live game day here, and you're not going to believe it. I'm sitting here saying that these penalty kicks should be automatic. They're like free throws. And then when you have the game's, arguably the greatest player taking the penalty kick, and he doesn't even hit the net, well, guess we got ourselves a game here because Argentina and Messi missed it. It wasn't even saved. I mean, he didn't even come close. He shanked it, Tom. Shanked it, trying to get it in there. And my goodness, a whole lot of money just exchanged hands between sports books and bettors with that Messi miss. Now, plenty of time, right? 11, 12 minutes in, no score here, but what a golden opportunity that was for Australia.
We were just talking about right as the break hit.
Rather.
Yeah, right as the break hit and what potentially was there. First goal for Messi anytime goal, Messi to score or an assist. I assume people out there, given the promotions that they have out there, FanDuel, DraftKings, et cetera, I assume a lot of people are trying to go Argentina money line plus Messi to score or assist to get you closer to even money. Like everything is up in the air and in flux now. Obviously, Argentina is still clearly the better team, but where this goes from here, Argentina first half money line is yet to be seen. So a little bit of back and forth action. We're going to get some extra stoppage time, obviously, because that injury in the VAR review took so long. But Argentina still in possession or still in control of this game overall with possession, but they need to get one across the board, and especially Messi backers are not happy right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's just crazy here. It really was. But this one already is at least, nice back and forth. I'm still questioning the whole penalty kick. It didn't look that egregious, but you'll take it here. But you would have liked to have seen them go up 1-0 and Messi sitting there getting on the board. But 0-0 right now, approaching that 14-minute mark. You mentioned coming up with France and Iraq. I don't know anybody that thinks Iraq's even going to be competitive in this game, but it's got to be. I can't imagine the liability at sportsbooks on Mbappe or even Olise, really, for that matter, because it's one or the other, if not both, right? So do we expect a rout here from France? Should we be looking maybe over, team total over? How many goals do we expect France to get in this one?
Frankly, if they don't get at least 2, I would be surprised. And a part of me thinks that they want to run up the score just because I think that's what they're going to need. Because right now they're technically sitting in second with a +2 goal differential. Right. Norway leads things with a +3, and they still have to play Norway. So, they want to run it up and get some goals in their back pocket. So even if they lose by 1 against Norway, they'll still be in a good spot to secure number 2 in the group. So them getting at least 3, I think, should be the expectation. Depends on, how much further they push past that, because I could see at least 4 on the board for them. But I think 3 should be the expectation. If it's only 2, I would say it's an objective failure for France.
I'm with you. I mean, I think Mbappe, I think Olise also, apparently everyone seems to think like he's the facilitator. This is the guy that you want to go with assists on. He is all up and down there. But I'm with you. I mean, if we're going to continue to think that France is one of the favorites to win. Now, we watched Spain wake up yesterday. No shock there. But if we're going to see, I'm looking for something from France here. They are clearly the better team. I don't think it's even close. The market is telling you that. But it can't be we've seen enough of these 1-0, 1-1 ties with teams that should have been ridiculously better than what they were. So I need to see something from France coming up here, no?
So are you looking to a team total goals or just a game over 3.5 goals minus 122?
Goals.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm seeing the game total. See something here.
Right. I'm seeing the game total goal is at 3.5 minus 122. Yep. You want the team total. Obviously, what I always say with soccer, sometimes it's a little bit like baseball or hockey. There's multiple ways to skin a cat. You could look to a team total. You could look to the game total. Now, it's a little bit different in soccer. If we're looking at a 3.5 for the game total, if it goes over 3.5, I expect France to be doing all of the work to get to 3.5. Maybe they can win this game 5-1, but I think that cruises over. But when it comes to a team total, I think that's also a very reasonable way to look at it. Looking at some of the score or assist props, I'm trying to find a way to get some value on some of these players. Dembele is obviously fantastic. He's still sitting at minus 250 to score or assist. Can you look to an anytime goal scorer for Mbappe? He's minus 240. Dembele is sitting at minus 110. I think that's a decent look when it's all said and done. But a team prop for team total goals, I think that's probably just as good as a way to look at it.
Don't hate it, Doc. I really don't here. By the way, we still kind of go back and forth here. Not a whole lot happening one way or the other on this. But I'm going to tell you here, I think still nothing. How many shots on goal, by the way? This was another prop with this Argentina and Austria game here. How many goals are we looking at, or shots on goal, rather, have we seen thus far? Because it looks like we're playing it right around midfield, but I haven't seen a whole lot going on with the goalies just yet here.
None. I see the one shot for Argentina. It's not on goal. It's one shot and then no shots for Austria. So it's 0-0 as of now in terms of shots on target. If anyone's betting corners out there, we have yet to see any corners. We've also yet to see any cards. So I know a lot of people like to bet on yellow cards or total corners, whatever it might be. And it's zeros across the board for shots on goal, cards, and corners.
This is going to be interesting to see here, because it does feel like we're getting a little bit, I don't want to say conservative so far here, but if I'm Austria, can I afford to play it conservative here? Tom, do I need to start taking some chances? I mean, let's be thankful that they didn't give up a goal early there in the first 9 minutes because of the Messi missed penalty kick. But it feels like I need to see them start taking some chances here a little bit also, because you and I are on the same page. We think Argentina, much more firepower. They are absolutely the better team, but you can't score. You can't spend the entire time defending, Tom. Like, at some point, you got to get some goals, and you got to take some chances. Absolutely. And we'll see if they do just that here at about the 18-minute mark as in-game live game day continues here on the grid. right, welcome back in-game live game day here on the Sports Grid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Tom Vecchio. As well, we had a little more action here in this Argentina versus Austria game. Nothing. Obviously, the big story is going to be how Messi in the first 9 minutes had a penalty kick that didn't even hit the net, which is a bit concerning here, but seems to be a pretty physical game so far as well. So at least Austria seems to be, they don't want to give up too many more penalty kicks, but Austria doesn't seem like they're messing around very much in this one.
No, and maybe that's part of their game plan, knowing that they want to keep this as low scoring as possible. They want to come away with a 0-0, 1-1 draw, at most a 1-0 loss, because they want to keep the goal differential potentially in their favor. But, they have more fouls committed, they have more duels won. That's part of their process of they got to muck it up a little bit and throw the Argentinian attack off their normal rhythm, because you can't rely solely on counterattacking if you're Austria. You can't be playing on your back heels and only look to be opportunistic. You have to take control of the game in some capacity, and they're starting off with that as they're getting a ball deep in the box now, and I think this is going to be the first corner of the game that they're going to be coming up with now.
I mean, let's face it, Argentina did shut out, right, in their first game. I mean, Messi got all the headlines by having the hat trick, but let's be realistic. Defensively, they were really good against Algeria. They controlled tempo, and they found it pretty difficult to get anything going offensively. It kind of feels like that's exactly what Austria's going through right now. They're having a pretty difficult time getting through the midfield and the defense of what Argentina's bringing to the table here. Did you think we were going to get a ton of goals in this? Because maybe we ought to start looking at the in-game total here as well. This has got, it feels like maybe, no more than 3, I think, at tops here.
Well, I was looking at an under 3.5 pregame that was sitting at, minus 350. I thought thereabouts, a little bit too much. Now it's minus 800 for under 3.5. Still under 2.5 sitting at minus 250, which is still a bit of a steep price to, as we're coming up to a hydration break now. The question becomes is, where we would be sitting if we had the Messi penalty kick on the board? Could we be looking at an under 3.5 at that point? Because I did not see this as a high scoring game. I'm also going to be potentially looking at, depending on how much further into the game we get, can we be looking at a double chance potentially? Can we get a decent number on Argentina and draw once we get much further into games? It's still sitting at minus 1,000 now, and a lot were to have to happen. If Austria gets out and scores first, we can come back in and buy into the draw, or Argentina coming back and winning. So that's what I'm keeping my eye on. Do we get any positive offensive momentum for Austria to potentially buy back in on Argentina?
That's a big question. And I think it's going to be interesting. It wouldn't shock me if we go to break, maybe 0-0. I haven't seen a ton of great offensive opportunities here, but it does feel like whoever can get that first goal is going to have a leg up here for sure. And again, Argentina, this group is going to be playing the group that involves Spain. So, the team who finishes second is going to have to take the winner of that group. But how impressed were you with Spain yesterday? Because that looked a lot more like the Spain we thought we were going to get. But boy, oh boy, them, France, England, even Argentina, still your top 4 favorites up at the top. And I got to see a little more from Argentina here, too, as well, before I keep putting them in the whole favorite category like the market is doing.
I would say impressed with Spain to a degree. It's almost as if that's what we should have been seeing from the first game against Cape Verde. So it's like, yeah, that's the Spain I expected to see from the opening. Seeing Lamine Yamal in the starting lineup was finally good to see. He gets his first World Cup goal. And to see them build momentum, it's like, okay, are they going to be the powerhouse that we expect them to be? And they're just going to roll through teams here on out. Last World Cup, they got stifled in, the round of 32. They went to penalties, didn't score against Morocco. Yep. So they really need to show that they are one of the, if not the best team in the world, and can compete and just outscore any other team. That's what we got to see today.
Yeah. Yep. I like that there. I like, and again, because we're dealing with such big names today with with Erling Haaland getting ready later with Norway, with Mbappe coming up, with Messi currently. I know a lot of guys were putting together that whole parlay situation here where give me Messi, give me Mbappe, give me Haaland, all to score goals here. Boy, oh boy, Messi let us down, though, on that leg of the parlay. We'll have more, though, as in-game live game day continues on the grid. All right, welcome back in-game live game day here on the SportsGrid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Tom Vecchio as game one today of a four-game slate in the World Cup. Group J in focus, and Lionel Messi on the pitch right now in Arlington. No score still coming up on the 30-minute mark here, and you mentioned we just saw another corner kick. I think both corner kicks right now from Austria. Nothing from Argentina. But, we were just talking that Argentina only got 9 total shots in that. We all, it was great that Messi got 3 goals, but they were pretty efficient. They made those shots count. But I'm not seeing a whole lot of offense going on right now with Argentina, which is a little concerning.
It is. When you look back at that Algeria game, it's obviously highlighted by Messi. He scores first. He scores a hat trick, his first career World Cup hat trick. Argentina actually didn't win possession in that game. They actually lost the possession 52-48. It's very, very slim. Obviously, the expected goals were through the roof for Argentina, and they took advantage of the big opportunities that they had to score those goals. As you said, they are very, very efficient. But, I want to know what Austria saw from that game that says they actually can stifle some of the opportunities and the chances that Argentina are going to be creating. Because obviously, the longer this game goes on with no score, the more it plays into Austria's hand. Like, that's what they want to see. They want to see this game as close to the vest as possible, limiting the counterattacking chances for Argentina, limiting the space for Messi up the top. And that's where they will have some success because, listen, they can get an extra corner here or there. That's going to put them in the best spot. The question I have, are we going to look to buy into Messi as anytime goal scorer right now has been jumping around because he was, minus money, obviously. He's plus 145 live right now that I'm seeing on FanDuel for anytime goal scorer. And Joe, I assume you like him at plus 100. You love him at plus 145.
I'm still smarting as anybody holding a ticket with him, watching him in the first 9 minutes get a penalty kick and not even get it on net, and just shanked it. My goodness. And he just had another one too that just, this is going to be one of those games. This is going to be one of those extremely frustrating games. He had he had a ricochet shot that he had a wide open net with the goalie out of position that he just could not. He couldn't get any air under it there. So that would have been another one too. But approaching the 32-minute mark, did you bet any of the corners or the shots on goal or anything along those lines? Because the more I'm watching Argentina play, the more I think they're very opportunistic. But if those opportunities don't land in goals, it feels like these are going to be lower scoring matches here.
It really is. The only one I have is the one I said at the top for McAllister for Argentina. Just one shot on target. Obviously, there's a difference between shots and shots on target in soccer. Just for one plus at plus 110. I thought, Austria would do their best to limit Messi and Martinez at the top and would create some space for someone else. And that's where it went. I did not bet Messi. I did not bet him for a goal. I'm thinking about jumping in. If we get to halftime and it's 0-0 and we're getting him at a plus 145, plus 150 number, that's just too good to pass up at a certain point. If he's at least generating the chances and there's another penalty kick, he's going to be the guy to do it. I expect him to come through with a second chance in a game.
I agree too. I mean, there's only so many times you can play with fire before you're absolutely going to get burned there. So this is one coming up here on the 34-minute mark. We're going to have to keep an eye on, but they've had their chances, Argentina, but they have not made it count just yet in this one. And of course, you got 3 more games coming up. Iraq at France, which the whole world believes France is going to win and win rather easily. I think the Senegal versus Norway is going to be interesting too. Senegal known for its defense, and some people think France should have scored a few more goals than what they ended up getting in that first match. But I don't know. How high were you on Norway coming in here? Obviously, Haaland is in a level all his own there, but is that enough? Are they going to generate enough offense here in order to get this thing up and over the goals coming up later? 2.5, I believe, is what we've seen.
My expectation for Norway is that they would make it out of the group. It wouldn't be first. A lot of people were calling this the group of death just because we know how good Senegal can be and create some issues for opposing teams. I think they could get a win across the board against Iraq. They can get 3 points there. Maybe they can get a draw here, putting it 4 points. And, Group I would be one of the groups that has 3 teams coming out of it, with France leading the way, Norway in second, and potentially Senegal coming in third. The offense for this game, 2.5, I'm seeing it at 2.5 and minus 106 to the over, minus 114 to the under. The question I have for Norway is, if Haaland is stifled, where else would the goals be coming from? And that's a great question, because there's probably immense value on looking outside of him for another player to score or assist or just to get a goal or shots on target, whatever it might be. I don't mind the over. I'm not saying I love it. I'm not saying I'm jumping there, but 2.5, I think we can get some offense. Maybe a 2-1 win on either side.
It's interesting, too, because Norway has as lethal as they are offensively, and we've also seen both teams to score in 7 of their last 8 matches. 5 of the last 7 have gone over the 2.5, so they just, what was the opening one? 4-1? They were there, and Haaland had 2 goals in that one. So they seem to, yes, offensively, I think they can do the heavy lifting. But how much does Senegal really need to add to this in order to be able to get it up and over the 2.5?
Not much. Not much. Like, again, I think they can play their way. I think 2-1 Norway is a reasonable outcome. We're not asking for too much. Maybe Haaland gets in on one, someone else grabs another, just because they're worried about Haaland. They're double marking him when he gets inside the box. Just leaves some space for someone else. Maybe Mane scores for Senegal, arguably their best player. We get a 2-1 final. What we're expecting, it's over the 2.5. Norway comes away with the win. They are a favorite. slightly at plus 125, Senegal sitting at plus 220. I think that's a reasonable outcome. We're not asking for 4 or 5 goals as we're expecting from France today.
I agree. And France better come up with 4 or 5 goals there, because we're already on the over team total in that one there. Coming up on the 37-minute mark, still nothing here, although time of possession feels like it's kind of even in this Argentina-Austria game. Does it not, Tom? Feels like both teams have had some opportunities, have controlled what's going on. Whether or not they can, they'll make it count is a whole different thing, but it does feel like both teams have had some opportunities offensively here.
Yeah, we're not looking at too much of a difference at 56-44 in terms of possession. The expected goals are a bit higher for Argentina. It's only 0.86 compared to 0.24, but I want to say it's been a relatively even game, at least in the midfield area. And that's what Austria wants. They don't want this game getting out of control in terms of wide openness back and forth. And they're playing it close to the vest, and a lower scoring first half is probably what they wanted coming into this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that works out there. But defensively, too, I mean, both teams have done a pretty good job here, although Argentina had a couple of early opportunities. Messi especially has had a couple of good opportunities, but nothing has been able to find the net. So still 0-0 coming up here on the 38-minute mark. And I'm with you, Tom. If I get a 0-0 at the break, I think there's a couple of options that we need to start looking at here, because it could very well, even the draw bet might not be a bad look here with the way from what we've seen so far from these two teams.
Certainly looking towards that draw potential. I think we're coming up against a break right now, so we'll come back on the other side with everything going on. Argentina's had some chances. And we're going to see how things change as we get back after this break. Argentina's putting one in right now as Messi finally gets on the board with a goal right before we hit the break.
Unreal. How many more times are you going to give Messi an opportunity to burn you, Austria? Thank goodness. All right, in-game live game day continues here on the grid. All right, welcome back in-game live game day here on the SportsGrid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Tom Vecchio here, and he found net. We get it with Lionel Messi. Sets the record now, 17 career goals in the World Cup. Beautiful pass, beautiful kick. I'm still trying to figure out, Tom, how he didn't make the penalty kick in the first 9 minutes, because now we'd be looking as another possible, hat trick here in this spot. But 2 games, 4 goals so far, 1-0 lead for Argentina, and Austria seems to be coming unglued here a little bit.
They are. So a lot just happened. As you know, Messi had the goal right as we were going to break. So Messi first, anytime goal scorer, he scores. To score an assist is through the board. First goal scorer is through the board. We just saw Austria get a yellow card. Presumably if you are backing Argentina first half, money line, that's looking pretty good as of now. We also did see Medina come through with the assist, so you can cash that as well. So there is a ton going on right as we come up to halftime.
Unreal. 1-0 here coming up about the 43-minute mark. Messi toasted a town here. It should be 2-0, but I digress there, Messi. That's fine. You're just going to ruin everyone. You still have time to get another goal, though, but those that had 1+ there should be scratching their heads. But they're on the board. They've done it efficiently. 3 shots on goal. 1 is found net. 1 penalty kick that I'm still laughing on how bad that was. But opportunities will persist here. And now my question is, do we think Austria is making any sort of comeback here and with an opportunity to get I don't think we have a save yet, do we now for Argentina? Nothing, right?
Not that I'm seeing. They've 1 save. I don't know if they count one of the other chances they had inside the box, but it wasn't the penalty kick. It obviously wasn't that. I'm seeing 1 save for Austria thus far.
All right. Well, let's bring in our good friend Marcelino here, who is no doubt, something tells me he is watching this match with very intently here. So Marcelino, how does he miss the penalty kick? I'm still trying to figure that one out, but he gets the goal, which is good to go. But so far, I got to see more from Austria. We're not getting anything from them, are we?
I think they're starstruck right now. This is something that happens in these type of games. We see Messi surprisingly missing the first opportunity, and then not too much after, missing another sitter. Really, really well stopped by the goalkeeper. But Austria, they have a game that is do or die right now. If Argentina goes away, they might see a 3-0, 4-0. I don't see a reaction from Austria. I see them already getting upset and trying to fight, and that plays right into the Argentinian tactics. They will bother you. They will, make you feel the pain of the loss throughout the whole game to make you desperate, to make you commit a mistake and capitalize on that. So I feel like Argentina is positioned to really take this game. We'll see what happens after the half. But to be honest, after seeing Argentina, the way that they managed the last game, give up the ball, let them move, let them play, and just know that Messi is there to counterattack and strike when it needed, it's going to be difficult for Austria.
So Messi's not the only star on today's slate. Obviously, coming up a little bit later, Mbappe and France get things underway. What are you expecting from that? Are we expecting another multi-goal performance from Mbappe? Because Joe and I were talking. I think this is a spot that France wants to potentially run up the goals because they have to worry about the goal differential after Norway poured in 4 of their own. What are you expecting from this game?
Without a doubt, they will come out swinging for the fences. They need that goal difference, as you mentioned, because at the end of the group stage, they will have a very hard, for me, almost like an advanced final, France versus Norway. So France need to take the opportunity that they have a weak opponent in front of them. It will be hard. I mean, weak opponents in the World Cup, we'll see them, Cape Verde, Curacao. What in paper looks weak, they can make your life very difficult on the pitch. But in this case, France has everything they need to take this commanding victory and at least put 4 goals in the score. Now, we know these defenses are organized. They know these players very well, and they will do everything to keep that 0-0. That's what they're going to come out for. But Mbappe and Olise, they have a responsibility to really blow up today.
I see a lot of people think that maybe Senegal could be a problem for Norway here. We know Norway can score, but we also know Norway can give up some goals here. What do you think we're getting in that Norway game?
I think that unless Erling Haaland comes inspired, we're gonna have a tie. Senegal is a very disciplined, very physical. See the odds for Senegal and the draw are not on their side, but here is I think that the opinion is being swayed right now because of that first game and the offensive power of Haaland. The reality is that Senegal is a much better team than those odds promise, and I feel like there's money to be made on that tie. But again, if Haaland comes inspired, there's nothing that is going to stop him. There's two certain things in this game. Games are 90 minutes, and Haaland knows how to score.
Now, if we jump ahead tomorrow, we got some big names, favorites there. Portugal taking on Uzbekistan, England taking on Ghana. Portugal, slow start for them, specifically Ronaldo. What are you expecting from Portugal and England tomorrow?
Portugal is a tough cookie right now because internally it doesn't seem that they are respecting the history and the place of Ronaldo. They are not giving him the balls. The discourse around the team is not the best. People, the Ronaldo lovers, we know that they're very, very intense. And they are not happy with the way that the team has been treating Ronaldo. So that, in my mind, is something that will affect the team because they're not really focused on what they have at hand. I could see Ronaldo walking by himself at the end of the last game. Very bad sign for one of your most historical and life-saving players. But England, on the other hand, England is on a roll. I think that yes.
Yeah, I'm with you here. I think Harry Kane's going to score. I think they're all scoring in the group stages. I think they're going to keep racking up as many goals. The stars are going to be stars early. It's what happens in the round of 32 and 16 that it might get a little bit more difficult. Marcelino Ortiz, always a pleasure, my man. Appreciate the time. In-game live game day will continue on the grid. All right, welcome back in-game live game day here on the SportsGrid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Tom Vecchio. So we got extra time here. I think they gave us 7 minutes. That's coming to a close. So the first half almost to a close here, Tom. 1-0 Argentina. If I'm Austria, listen, I'm happy you've given, Argentina especially, you've given Messi more than a few opportunities to put a couple of goals on the board here, but so far it's only one. If they keep it 1-0, they're still very much in this in the second half, no?
They are, look, it's only one. We've officially hit halftime. They only gave up 3 shots to Argentina, 2 of them on goal. Austria has 2 shots of their own, none on goal. They won the corners battle. They do have a yellow card, so they got to deal with that when it comes to Austria. But all things considered, this game could have been 2-0. Maybe, if that penalty kick went through, we don't know how the rest of the first half would have changed. Things could have opened up, but it's, could have been 2. It's only 1 right now. You got to come out with more offensive urgency. You can't just be waiting for counterattacks as your only avenue for offensive pressure. You need to start generating some of your own, start winning some more corners as they've done in the first half, and try and get a goal across the board. Again, Austria still has 3 points potentially in their back pocket when they have to play Algeria next week as the final game. So that is somewhat comforting, but they still want to get as close to a tie as they can in this one and get 1 point out of it.
Yeah, and listen, Algeria, Jordan, that's your late game here tonight. Algeria did not look good against Argentina. I think they had 1, maybe 2 shots on target there the entire game. It wasn't good, but Jordan, they were pretty good against this Austria team. They lost 3-1, but, they showed some fight, and obviously nobody thinks that either of those two are going to mean anything in this group stage, but it feels like there could be a draw coming here tonight, at least one game, and this is the game I would circle it.
And getting a draw, each getting a point is what they ultimately want. They want to have at least a fighter's chance, puncher's chance going into that final game. Now, granted, they're both going to be underdogs in their respective matchups, but getting a point out of it, I think would be fine for both teams. Then, maybe you can pull an upset against Austria, for Algeria. Maybe they can just get something across the board to at least put them in the conversation. So that's where we'd be looking. Joe, we do have, France coming up a little bit later. That's, something that we've talked about a lot. The over 3.5 for the France team total is sitting at plus 120. I think they want to get out early. They want to get out often. They don't want to have this game in any type of question, any issue for them. And again, the goal differential matters because right now they're sitting in second place behind Norway, who had the 4 in the opener. They, 3 goal differential. They're sitting behind them. They got to get out and score. And of course, Mbappe is going to be leading the way. He's minus whatever. There's 200 to score a goal. I'm not taking him for that, but I do like the France team total over 3.5 at plus 120.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think goals are coming. I think obviously getting Mbappe, maybe first goal scorer at plus 225, somewhere in that ballpark, 2-1. He's going to get on the board. It's going to likely happen quick in that one. And the Senegal game, I think that's going to be a little more higher scoring than maybe the market thinks. But over 2.5 goals with Erling Haaland, anytime goal scorer, I don't think you can go wrong with either of those looks in that game coming up.
No, anytime goal scorer for him. And again, the over 2.5 is only, minus 106, minus 110, thereabouts. So, we're getting normal odds on it. We're not, looking to an alt line. Again, if I had to pick, I think Norway wins that game 2-1. We'll see Senegal get one across the board, but the offensive power that Norway has will shine through there. It's a full day of action. And again, the draw in the late game between Algeria and Jordan, I think is on the table. We've seen a lot of draws thus far. Now, granted, some of them were earlier in the week, earlier last week, and we're seeing some teams start to pull away, but both teams need a point in that one.
Yeah, well, listen, Algeria's already -3, right? So in goal differential, you didn't score. You allowed Messi to score 3 times, but you did play some, again, you didn't give them wide open opportunities. They just took advantage of the shots that they had. So I would not look for a whole lot of goals in that late game, but I think the next 2 games coming up on the slate, Tom, you're going to have all the goals you want between, and I would put Mbappe and Haaland together, but, put them together for both to score a goal here. Messi's already got one. yes, the two other big stars are going to score goals here. I'd be shocked if they didn't there. But the good news is plenty more soccer still coming your way. We've got you covered here all day long, all week long, all World Cup long. On behalf of Tom Vecchio, I'm Joe Raineri. Enjoy the games. We'll see you again on In Game Live.
Atletico Madrid and Barcelona have become very well acquainted of late. They will have played each other 6 times before the season ends. 3 of those games will take place in just 10 days, the second of which was the first leg of a Champions League quarter-final at Camp Nou. It has not been a happy hunting ground for Atleti and their